Hey guys, Caleb here. I wanted to talk to you about something that I've been reading a couple articles and doing a little bit of research online. Carrying a single action revolver. By carrying, I mean everyday carrying in your day-to-day life, going to the mall, picking up the kids from school, driving in traffic, going out to eat, taking your wife out to a movie, carrying. A single action revolver. Some people look at you like you're crazy when you tell them that. These are usually the people that own a Glock 19, carry 5 extra magazines, and are convinced that they can fight like John Wick. I'm not one of those people. I don't even own a Glock 19. I don't have an issue with a Glock. They are reliable. I personally don't care for them. I like firearms that have character, and by character I mean that are slightly unique, maybe possibly old school, or look not like everybody else's. Everybody that owns a Glock, with the exception of the little back plates you can put on them and maybe a magazine base in bright red or bright purple, they all look the same. A Glock's a Glock. You can recognize one a mile away. That's why I choose to carry a single action revolver, because it's different. Nobody does it. That being said, I carry a revolver that I know how to use. From the time I was 5 years old and my grandfather handed me a Ruger Bearcat and told me to shoot at bowling pins in his backyard, I've been hooked. Growing up watching John Wayne, watching Clint Eastwood, watching all these Western stars blasting on Saturdays and at the movies and stuff is awesome to me. And maybe I'm a little immature, I've never really outgrown that. I think it's cool. So, by carrying a single action revolver, that is my personal way of tipping my hat to all the gentlemen that came before us and have lived and breathed and died already before I even came along, that carried and shot single action revolvers. All the sheriffs, all the marshals, everyone that done it. It's my way of tipping their hat to them. I don't think a single action revolver is antiquated. I don't think they're ancient or old or useless. I think they're very useful in a day-to-day life. As a carry gun, they're safe. The Ruger Vaquero, in which I choose to shoot, has a transfer bar safety, which is a little gate, if you will, that rises up to cover the spring-loaded firing pin that the Ruger Vaquero has fixed into the frame. And the only way to get that gate down is to cock the hammer and squeeze the trigger. And in squeezing the trigger, that gate drops free as the hammer impacts the firing pin, setting the cartridge off. So, that being said, the Vaquero is safe because you can carry 6 rounds in the cylinder, which is full up for some of you cowboy guys, instead of having the hammer down an empty chamber like you have to do with a Colt or a clone, which has a fixed firing pin. So the Ruger Vaquero I find is safer because of the transfer bar, and I like the idea that I can carry 1 extra round in it. Is it historically authentic to the single action army? No, it's not. But we live in 2017. I enjoy safety more than I do a fixed firing pin, so I'm able to overlook it. The Ruger Vaquero is my personal favorite in the 6-gun series because I love Ruger. From every firearm they make, Ruger has always turned out a good one. And even if they maybe sent you a lemon or something happens to be wrong with it, they've stood behind it. Anytime I've had an issue with the Ruger, it's been resolved with 1 phone call, or more recently, an email. Depends on how I choose to contact them in that particular situation. They stand behind their stuff, so I'm going to keep supporting them. The gun that I chose as my everyday carry single action revolver is a Ruger Vaquero, a new Vaquero specifically, and it's a tallow edition. Now, being a tallow edition means that it has a 3 3/4 inch barrel and a bird's head grip, which rounds it off, which for those of you that are into the Western movies, think Doc Holliday. He had a bird's head. Yet another way to tip my hat to the old ways of old. This particular gun is chambered in .357 Magnum, which I chose specifically for the fact that ammo is available. It's cheap for the most part. I'm also able to fire cheaper .38 specials, and it's the perfect cartridge I find in a revolver for a concealed carry situation, because the FBI and all their years and years and billions of dollars of firearms research to make sure that their agents are the best armed agents on the planet, they are forced to acknowledge that the .357 Magnum and the .45 ACP both offer a 90% chance of knocking down and stopping a threat with 1 shot. So I chose the 357 and a revolver because of that. In choosing the 357 revolver, I was forced to choose an ammunition, and I've tried several different varieties and breeds of 357 Magnums over the year, from 110 grain hollow points all the way up to 180 bear loads that I think I pulled a muscle shooting them in an SP-101 because of how strong they were. For my particular situation, the fact that I carry daily and I'm not likely to encounter a bear, I didn't get the bear loads. I went with a 125 grain jacketed hollow point, specifically made by Remington. This round, I've fired multiple boxes of Remington HTPs in the past. I've always been satisfied with how clean burning, how accurate, and overall, it's just high quality ammunitions. I've never found any bad primers. I've never found any bad cases in all the ones that I've fired. So I chose to go with this round. The reason I chose the 125 grain, that is the round that the FBI acknowledged was helping them attain the one-shot stop ratio. Additionally, in multiple volumes of research, I was led, and I honestly do believe, that in a shorter barrel, a lighter, higher velocity round is more efficient in terms of making the bullet expand. The expansion is important, especially when carrying a jacketed hollow point, because that is what causes the threat to stop, is the static shock of the hollow point expanding. Additionally, if the hollow point expands reliably, it's not going to over-penetrate and potentially cause more damage to bystanders in a crowded situation if you are forced to use your firearm. So that's the reason I chose it. Now, in this whole setup, I had to have a holster. There's about 3 people that make holsters for single-action revolvers for modern concealed carry, and they were typically between $100 and $200. I am a family man. I have 3 small children and a wife that I have to support with my job, so I don't usually like spending a lot of money on holsters because that takes away from the money that I have to do fun stuff with my wife and kids when I'm home. So I wanted something that was not necessarily bottom of the bin, a cheap holster, because I do believe that a good holster is a safety feature that you can add to your gun. So I found a gentleman in Tennessee, and I can provide his information if anybody is so inclined to want it, that makes holsters for a single action revolver, because he wanted one for his gun and he never could find one. He didn't, like me, he had a family, he didn't want to pay the money, so he chose to make them. And I'm personally very happy with the holster this gentleman made me. It's fits specifically for my gun. It is a rough out holster, so it goes in between my jeans and my undershirt. It has a nice heavy duty clip that holds it to my belt and keeps it in place where I put it from the time I put the gun on until I take it off when I'm home in the evenings. So that was another part of it. The third part of the equation, I think, is the belt. The gun belt I choose to wear is my day-to-day belt. It is the Bianchi. It is called a B4 Ranger belt. It is a throwback to the belts of the Texas Rangers. It is designed, it's a very stiff, very thick belt. It is designed for the carrying of a gun. So it's made out of heavy-duty leather. It's thick, it's heavy, and it's durable. And I've used it repeatedly to carry guns over the years. So this combination allows me the perfect ability of concealability, comfort, and knowing that I have enough gun for the job if a situation were to arise, which I think is important, especially when carrying a single-action revolver. Now, in the future, when I'm able to, when I'm not in a work vehicle, I'm going to make a video where I'm going to show you guys the gun, I'm going to show you guys the holster, and if we get to it, we will possibly dive into the realm of firing this gun to show you why it is I like this gun as a combination. But until that happens, this is Caleb. Enjoy your evening, and God bless.